When you get rich, tell no one. That sounds like something your paranoid uncle would whisper at Thanksgiving dinner, right? But here's the thing that might shock you. Some of the wealthiest people you walk past every single day are driving beat up Honda Civics, wearing clothes from Target, and you'd never guess they have more money in their bank account than most people will see in a lifetime. My name is Nick, and I spend way too much time thinking about money and why most people completely sabotage themselves the moment they start accumulating any real wealth. If you're someone who actually wants to understand what true financial freedom looks like instead of just playing dress up with expensive toys, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if it changes how you think about wealth. Now, before we dive into why keeping your mouth shut about money might be the smartest financial decision you'll ever make, let me ask you something. When you picture getting rich, what's the first thing that comes to mind? Maybe it's posting photos of your new Lamborghini on Instagram. Perhaps it's buying a mansion with more rooms than you could possibly use, or maybe it's walking into designer stores and buying whatever catches your eye without looking at price tags. Here's what's fascinating about human psychology. Most people don't actually want to be rich. They want to look rich. There's a massive difference between those two things, and understanding that difference will determine whether you build lasting wealth or end up broke with a closet full of designer clothes. Think about it this way. Why do you really want money? Strip away all the surface level answers and get brutally honest with yourself. Sure, you might say you want financial freedom or the ability to retire your parents, but if you dig deeper, there's probably a part of you that wants other people to know you've made it. You want the respect, the admiration, maybe even a little bit of envy from people who are still stuck in jobs they hate. This desire for recognition isn't necessarily wrong, but it's incredibly dangerous if you don't understand how it works, because the moment you start showing off your wealth, you've essentially painted a target on your back. And I'm not just talking about criminals, though that's definitely part of it. I'm talking about something much more subtle and potentially damaging to your long-term financial health. Let me tell you about something called stealth wealth and why it might be the most powerful financial strategy nobody talks about. Stealth wealth is exactly what it sounds like. You accumulate significant money, but nobody around you has any idea. You live modestly, drive reasonable cars, and avoid the trap of lifestyle inflation that destroys so many people who achieve financial success. Now, I know what you're thinking. What's the point of having money if you can't enjoy it? That's a fair question, and we'll get to that. But first, let me show you why broadcasting your wealth is one of the fastest ways to lose it. Privacy and security become major concerns the moment people know you have money. Wealthy individuals who flaunt their success become targets for burglaries, scams, and all sorts of criminal activity. There's a reason why many billionaires hire security teams and live in gated communities. When you advertise your wealth, you're essentially inviting problems into your life that you never had to deal with before. But the security risks are actually the least of your worries. The real danger comes from how your relationships change once people know you have money. Suddenly, every interaction becomes tainted with the possibility that someone has ulterior motives. That new friend who wants to hang out all the time. Maybe they genuinely like you, or maybe they're hoping you'll pick up the check at expensive restaurants. That distant relative who suddenly starts calling more often. Could be they missed you, or could be they heard through the family grapevine that you've come into some money. This isn't cynicism talking. This is reality. Money changes how people perceive you, and more importantly, it changes how they behave around you. Some of the loneliest people in the world are wealthy individuals who can never be sure if someone likes them for who they are or what they can provide. Here's something that might surprise you. Many high earners deliberately choose to drive modest vehicles. We're talking about people making multiple six figures who are cruising around in Toyota Camrys and Honda Accords. Why? Because they've figured out something that most people never learn. Your car doesn't need to be a billboard advertising your financial status. When you drive a reasonable car, live in a modest home, and dress normally, you get to experience something incredibly valuable. You get to form genuine relationships with people who have no idea about your financial situation. You can interact with others as equals without the weird power dynamics that money often creates. Think about your current friend group. How would those relationships change if they knew you had 10 times more money than they did? Would they still split the bill equally when you go out to eat? Would they still complain to you about their financial problems? Would they still treat you the same way? Or would there be an underlying tension that wasn't there before? This is why so many wealthy people end up surrounding themselves only with other wealthy people. It's not snobbery, though it might look like it from the outside. It's self-defense. When everyone in your social circle has similar financial resources, money becomes less of a factor in your relationships. But here's where it gets really interesting. The pressure to maintain appearances once you start showing off your wealth creates a vicious cycle that can actually make you poorer over time. Let's say you buy an expensive car to show your success. Now, you feel pressure to live up to that image. You need clothes that match the car. You need a home that's worthy of someone who drives such a vehicle. You need to eat at restaurants and vacation in places that align with the lifestyle you've created. Before you know it, you're trapped in what I call the appearance prison. You're working harder and spending more money just to maintain an image that you created for other people's benefit. Meanwhile, the truly wealthy person is quietly building more wealth because they're not wasting money on status symbols. There's an old saying about wealth that perfectly captures this concept. There are 3 levels of rich. When you're poor, you cut your own grass. When you're middle class, you pay someone else to cut your grass. But when you're truly wealthy, you cut your own grass again. Why? Because you've realized that freedom means doing what you want to do, not what you think rich people are supposed to do. The person cutting their own grass again has figured out that possessions don't bring lasting happiness. Experiences do, relationships do. The freedom to spend your time however you choose does, but a garage full of expensive cars that require maintenance, insurance, and constant worry about scratches and theft, that's not freedom. That's just expensive stress. This brings us to one of the most counterintuitive aspects of building real wealth. The things that truly matter in life either cost nothing or very little. Time with family and friends, a good night's sleep, a walk in nature, reading a book that changes your perspective, having a conversation that makes you think differently about something important. None of these things require you to be wealthy, but wealth can make them easier to access. When you're financially secure, you can choose to work less and spend more time on relationships. You can travel to experience different cultures. You can pursue hobbies and interests without worrying about whether they'll pay the bills. But here's the key insight that most people miss. You can do all of these things without anyone else knowing you have money. In fact, you can often do them better when people don't know about your financial situation. Consider this scenario. You're at a high school reunion and that guy who used to stuff you in lockers walks up bragging about his new Tesla and his corner office with a view. Meanwhile, you're standing there in your 5-year-old jeans knowing you could buy his entire subdivision without checking your bank balance. There's something almost comically satisfying about that moment, isn't there? This is the hidden superpower of stealth wealth. You get to navigate the world with insider knowledge that nobody else has. You're like a financial superhero in civilian clothes. People treat you normally because they have no idea you've escaped the matrix they're still trapped in. Let me give you a perfect example of how this plays out in real life. There's a guy I know who made a fortune in real estate. Every morning he puts on his work boots and drives his beat-up pickup truck to construction sites. His crew has no idea he owns the entire development company. He eats lunch with them, jokes around, and gets treated like one of the guys. Compare that to the contractor who shows up in a brand new luxury truck and suddenly everyone's asking for raises or assuming he's overcharging for his services. Which person do you think has better relationships and less stress in their daily life? Here's where things get really interesting from a psychological standpoint. When you're not broadcasting your wealth, you get to see people's true characters. You discover Who's genuinely generous when they think you're struggling financially? You learn who offers help without expecting anything in return. You find out which friends invite you places because they enjoy your company, not because they expect you to pick up the tab. This kind of insight is priceless. It's like having X-ray vision into human nature. You start making better decisions about who to trust, who to do business with, and who deserves a place in your inner circle. Meanwhile, the person flashing their wealth around is constantly wondering if people like them or just their money. But let's talk about the practical benefits of keeping your wealth under wraps. When service providers think you're a regular middle-class customer, you get honest quotes and genuine service. The moment they smell money, suddenly everything becomes more expensive. Your mechanic starts suggesting premium services. Your contractor finds all sorts of additional work that absolutely must be done. Your financial advisor steers you toward high-fee products that benefit them more than you. There's an entire industry built around separating wealthy people from their money, and the first step in that process is identifying who has money to begin with. When you fly under the radar, you avoid becoming a target for these sophisticated wealth extraction schemes. Now, let's address the elephant in the room. What's the point of having money if you can't enjoy it? This is probably the most common objection to the stealth wealth approach, and it reveals a fundamental misunderstanding about what money is actually for. Money isn't meant to impress other people. Money is meant to buy you options. It's meant to give you freedom. It's meant to reduce stress and increase your ability to live life on your own terms. None of these benefits require anyone else to know about your financial situation. Think about the last time you were genuinely happy. I'm talking about those moments where you completely forgot about everything else and just felt pure contentment. Was it because of something expensive you owned? Or was it during a conversation with someone you care about, a moment in nature, or while doing something you're passionate about? Most of our deepest satisfaction comes from experiences and relationships, not possessions. And here's the beautiful paradox. When people don't know you have money, your experiences often become richer and your relationships more authentic. Take travel, for example. When you're not trying to document your expensive vacation for social media, you actually get to experience it. You can stay in modest accommodations and discover hidden local gems that the luxury resort guests never find. You can have genuine conversations with locals who aren't trying to separate you from your money. You can focus on the adventure itself rather than creating content to prove you can afford such adventures. There's something liberating about removing the performance aspect from wealth. You stop living for other people's approval and start living for your own satisfaction. You realize that the best things in life aren't things at all. This shift in perspective also makes you a better investor and wealth builder. When you're not bleeding money on status symbols, you have more capital to deploy into assets that actually grow your wealth. While others are financing depreciating luxury cars, you're buying appreciating investments. While they're paying premium prices to maintain their image, you're compounding your returns. The math is simple, but powerful. Every dollar you don't spend on showing off is a dollar that can work for you for decades. Over time, this compounds into a massive difference in net worth between the show-offs and the stealth wealth builders. Here's another angle that most people never consider. When you keep your wealth private, you maintain your edge in business and career situations. Nobody's trying to price you out of deals because they think you have deep pockets. Nobody's excluding you from opportunities because they assume you don't need them. You get to compete on merit rather than perceptions about your financial status. I've seen wealthy entrepreneurs who still negotiate every contract like they're counting every penny, and their businesses thrive because of it. Meanwhile, entrepreneurs who flash their success find that suppliers, employees, and partners all start expecting premium treatment and pricing. The stealth wealth approach also protects you from one of the most dangerous wealth destroyers, the people closest to you. Family members who know you have money will find reasons why you should share it. Friends will develop selective amnesia when it comes time to pay their share of group expenses. Coworkers will expect you to fund office parties and charity drives. None of this makes these people bad. It's just human nature. When people know you have more than they do, they unconsciously adjust their expectations. Suddenly, fairness gets redefined in ways that always seem to benefit them and cost you. The solution isn't to cut ties with everyone you know. The solution is to control the information flow about your financial situation. You can still be generous when you choose to be, but it becomes your decision rather than other people's expectation. This approach becomes even more valuable when you realize how exhausting it is to maintain a wealthy persona. Think about celebrities who complain about the pressure of always looking perfect when they leave the house. Now, imagine creating that same pressure for yourself voluntarily just because you want people to know you have money. You'd essentially be signing up for a lifetime of performance anxiety. The irony is that the people most impressed by displays of wealth are usually the ones who can't afford such displays themselves. Meanwhile, actually wealthy people often see right through the facade. They know the difference between someone who has money and someone who's spending money. They may not even have to look like they have money. This brings up an interesting point about debt-funded luxury. How many of those Instagram posts showing off expensive lifestyles are actually funded by credit cards and loans? More than you probably guess. The rise of social media has created this bizarre economy where people go into debt to create the illusion of wealth for strangers on the internet. When you embrace stealth wealth, you completely opt out of this exhausting game. You stop caring about what your car says about you because you know it's just a tool to get from point A to point B. You stop worrying about whether your clothes have the right logos because, comfort and quality matter more than brand recognition. Here's something that might blow your mind. Some of the wealthiest people I know shop at Costco, use coupons, and drive their cars until the wheels fall off. Not because they have to, but because they want to. They've realized that every dollar saved on unnecessary expenses is a dollar that can compound and grow over decades. There's actually a term for this in psychology called hedonic adaptation. Basically, humans get used to improvements in their lifestyle surprisingly quickly. That first week with your new luxury car feels amazing, but by month 3, it's just your car. The excitement fades, but the payment remains. Meanwhile, the person who bought a reliable used car and invested the difference is building wealth that will provide satisfaction for decades. The stealth wealth mindset also makes you a much better decision maker because you're not clouded by ego or image concerns. When you're considering a major purchase, you can ask yourself honest questions. Do I actually need this, or do I just want other people to see me with it? Will this improve my life in a meaningful way, or am I just trying to keep up with some imaginary standard? These questions become your financial superpower. While others are making emotionally driven purchases they'll regret later, you're making calculated decisions that align with your actual goals and values. Let's talk about something that happens to almost everyone who builds wealth but doesn't advertise it. You develop what I call financial confidence. It's this quiet assurance that comes from knowing you could handle almost any financial emergency that life throws at you. Your car breaks down? No problem. Unexpected medical bill? Covered. Want to take a spontaneous trip? Done. This confidence is completely different from the nervous energy that comes with trying to maintain an expensive lifestyle on shaky financial ground. It's the difference between being actually secure and just looking secure. The beautiful thing about this confidence is that it affects every area of your life. You negotiate better because you're not desperate. You take calculated risks because you have a safety net. You sleep better at night because you're not worried about making payments on things you bought to impress people you probably don't even like. Now, let's address a concern that comes up often. What if you want to be generous with your wealth? What if you want to help family members donate to causes you care about or treat friends to nice experiences? The good news is that stealth wealth doesn't prevent generosity. In fact, it makes your generosity more meaningful. So there you have it. When you get rich, keep your mouth shut and let everyone else play the exhausting game of financial theater. Build your wealth quietly, enjoy your freedom privately, and remember that true prosperity isn't about what you own. It's about what owns you. The best kind of rich is the kind nobody sees coming.